Right, you guys. Happy New Year to everybody. You guys are back with the Rob Report. This is Rob. I'm coming at you live from prison. And today, we're going to kind of take a different spin on things, because like I say, when I be doing these interviews, I always welcome comments from the viewers, and I always welcome comments from victims as well. And so today I want to just kind of respond. We kind of got some victim comments. And so I'm sitting here live with my guy, Charles Champion. And so let me just start by saying a comment came in about my guy, Charles Champion. Charles is known for, he's doing time because he had killed a cop. And so I think that a lot of times there's a lot of people out there that probably think that when something like this happens that we just have a blatant disregard for law enforcement and different things of that nature, but there are people that have hearts. There are people that care out there, that make mistakes. And I personally believe that my friend Charles just made a mistake, right? So part of the comment was is that, you killed my best friend. And he and I both had children at the same time. His children will never know their father. If only you could have said you were sorry for his murder. Being in a gang is not a crime. Killing a police officer is what messed up your life. I hope his kids and widow don't see you spending religion and love on YouTube. Why do you deserve a platform is beyond me. And I want to just say, for me, right, I take that really serious, and we definitely welcome that. We're not here to diminish any of that. We definitely feel exactly what you're saying. I'm not sure exactly who you are, but I can say this beyond a shadow of a doubt. I definitely will tell you that I am sorry for the loss of your friend. I can only understand what his family has to go through, but I can tell you this, I'm locked up for murder too, and I understand what happens with victims. I understand that we victimize more people than we know. And so we want to use this platform sometimes to do those apologies and talk about these things that we've done because we messed up. And if we can just save lives and impact lives, I think that's exactly what we want to use this platform for. So without further ado, I want to talk to Champ. Champ, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Charles, let's just get right into it, man. Obviously, you heard what I just read to you, so there are some people out there that aren't very happy with you, And so, like, the first thing that I read was that there was a guy that was friends with somebody that you murdered, and I just want to deal straight from the top. And it says that the post suggests that you've never said you're sorry. So I'm going to back up, and I'm going to give you that space to say whatever you need to say at this moment.
Yeah, appreciate this opportunity, As far as, my reaction to, and I don't regard what I did as a mistake, I can't say that it was a mistake, what I'm saying? It was a horrible choice. It was something very wrong, what I'm saying, what I did, and I stand on that, and I admit that freely, bad choices that, at a very young age. But, from the very beginning, early on, I've always been, remorseful for, my actions and how it has affected, those who were affected by it. During my sentencing hearing in particular, I had the opportunity to, share my heart with regards to what my actions were. But even prior to, my sentencing hearing, the way that everything is set up, and I'm not using this as an excuse, I'm just outlining the circumstances, the way that everything is set up as far as the court situation is concerned, you don't have the opportunity to even speak to anyone from the family or anyone that's associated with the family. You're going in and out of court, and you don't get a chance to say anything to anyone. You don't get a chance to speak to anyone. You know what I mean? And there were several times where, I wanted to be able to give that because I understood, the hurt and pain that I had caused. But because of the situation and everything is set up, you just don't have the opportunity to. So my only official opportunity to express the regret, the shame, the sorrow, the remorse, was at my sentencing hearing, and therein I did, and it wasn't an easy thing to do. It was a tough thing to do, but I knew that it was something that I had to do.
Okay, right. Thank you for saying that, right? And one of the things that I know that I try to bring out in the Rob Report is I try to expose some of these things as well. Like, for example, like when you go to sentencing, and I can say that for myself too, Whereas I was just completely just scared. Like I was put on the. It's like go ahead and say what you have to say to the victims, and then it's like you don't know what to say. It's so much, and then when you're done, you're like, man, I could have said 1,000 more things, and then that opportunity's closed because now you're told right from that moment that you're never allowed to speak to the victims or anybody else again, right? And so I kind of really understand that. So like also I want to just fast forward a little bit because if I'm understanding correctly, that was about 20 plus years ago. So can we talk about how you felt then versus how you felt now? Because as I understand it, you were kind of like on some type of death row status or something. But I don't really mean in that sense. I mean in the sense of like, okay, that happened a while back. So your feelings continuously change and change and change over years, and you have more remorse, you have more shame, you have more on your mind. Where sometimes you wake up and that's all you can think about is your action. So if you could use this time to really just kind of clarify how it's been for you.
Yeah, man. Over the years, man, I've had a lot of time to reflect on my actions. I've had a lot of time to grow and mature, and have a broader understanding about life in general, but particularly how my actions have affected the people who has affected, and so I had to come to the grips with the fact that I took the life of someone. I took a son from a mother and father. I took a husband from a wife, and a father. A father from a child. I was dead wrong for doing that. You know what I mean? That wasn't my place to do. And, the punishment that was handed down to me, was, rightly so. One of the things that I've learned over the years, and, for me personally, my relationship, my faith, my relationship with God has everything to do with the man that I've been growing and developing into, because it is God who has been teaching me about justice. It is God who has been teaching me about, right and wrong. Whereas prior to that, I didn't really understand that to the extent that he's opened my perspective to. You know what I mean? And so he taught me first and foremost that, my offense was first and foremost against him. Who was I to, do what I did to one of his creations? And that was a heavy thing for me, And then after that, understanding how my actions have affected his loved ones and family members and things like that. It's God who had to teach me these things. Because where I come from and the way I was brought up and everything, you don't really have that, growing up in the environment that I'm growing up in. You know what I mean? To a great extent, I was really numb to a lot of the violence and a lot of, just the violence that was going on, in my environment. Being up around that for so long, you become numb to that over years, So God had to really open my eyes and change my perspective on how I was seeing life. And that's what he did. Those 4 years that I sat in the county jail, I was in the hole, that was a life-changing experience for me. 18 years old, facing the death penalty. I'm in the hole. I only come out for 1 hour a day. It's only me by myself. No distractions, no nothing. That was a life-changing experience for me, and that's where, a lot of my perspective began to change. A lot of my development began to happen. I often tell people that, that's where I began to grow up at. That's where God began to raise me at. Also, and one more thing, I also learned, too, that not only did my actions affect those who I hurt, but my actions also affected my own family. I also committed a crime against my own family as well. They are also, victims as well, and that's something that, God has helped me to understand as well. It's like, hold on, Charles, your actions didn't stop with the effect of your actions didn't stop over here. Look over here. Look how your actions affected even your own family as well. These are lessons that I've learned over the years.
Yeah, that's definitely critical, because I know that a lot of people on the outside, they don't realize that when we commit these crimes, we also not only do we live with a lot of shame, but a lot of times we create a lot of space between us and our families. A lot of people they don't want to just turn their back, but sometimes the behavior is so egregious that they feel that they have to, that that's the only way that they can condemn you. is to step away from you, and that's something else that we'll delve into later on down the line, but it's definitely something that does happen. So a lot of times people may think that when we do these things, that we just go smiling and there's no culpability or anything to that nature, but it's so much that goes on behind the scenes that people don't know about. So I thank you for trying to clear that up. I want to jump into something else that was said in here too, and also let me just make a disclaimer real quick. First and foremost, we are never going to disvalue or devalue anything that somebody says. That's not the goal here. The goal is to just bring a little bit of context and understand that, because we definitely want to continue to have those comments. We want it to be fair and balanced, to the sense of we give you one side, but there is another side. There is a victim side, and so we definitely want to continue to hear these type of things. We're not going to run away from it. We want to try to answer these things, and we want to try to be responsible for it. But one of the things that I noticed that was said was that you don't deserve a platform. But I want to just stop there real quick before I ask you a question. And I want to just tell the people out there that are listening, with this platform that we are using, we're trying to really do something special, trying to do something that's not being done. And a lot of times, and I talked about this in my last interview, a lot of times the work that we're trying to do, we lose a lot of friends doing this stuff. A lot of people disassociate themselves with us because we're trying to do real good work, and so like even with this platform, I know that when people have come up to us and asked us to support their defund the police movements and different things of that nature, we have stood firm and said, hell no, we don't support that message. You know what I mean? So I want law enforcement to know right now that even with the platform that we have rejected those ideas. You know what I'm saying? We're not jumping on that because we definitely know that we need law enforcement out there. So I wanted to say that off the muscle, but I wanted to ask you about the platform and why do you need this platform, and what are you trying to bring to this platform?
I never looked at it, like something that I needed, but you know, we wanted to create this platform, man, because we wanted to affect change. You know what I'm saying? We wanted to affect change right here in the prison, and this is where 50 Rags Outreach started. The people that come from my walk of life, the street lifestyle, the gang lifestyle, my experiences and my influences and the knowledge and understanding that I've gained over the years, I want to take that and I want to give back and try to help change this culture because it's destructive. We are, killing our own people. We're destroying our own communities. We're leaving our families, our wives and our children out there fatherless in the name of, the street life. And that's something that God has opened my eyes to. And so, I feel a calling on my life to reach back to try to help change, and so that's how 50 Rags Outreach started. We were blessed with the opportunity to, gain an online presence. And with this presence, we wanted to be able to not only be responsible, first and foremost, but second of all, we wanted to let people know that, it's okay to change. If an individual like myself could, having done what the things that I've done, can turn his life around, then my message to the next man is, so could you. And so that's how this came about. And that's what we want to use this platform for. We want to try to affect change, man, because this gang lifestyle, this cancerous lifestyle, man, has affected generations and thousands of lives, I don't want to continue to perpetuate that. I don't want this to be something that my sons, my little cousins, my friends' sons and cousins continue to get caught up in.
I dig it. And I want to just take this time right now to say that 50 Rags Outreach does not by any way support any violence on officer and law enforcement at all. And then I wanted to just also let it be known that I know two people that were in the prison that I consider friends of mine. And I know that they've actually saved correctional officers' lives. And then these guys, it's not something that's light. It's frowned upon by other people that are locked up. And so then these guys have to go spend the rest of their time in protective custody for doing the right things. And I say this because a lot of times people may think that what a person's intentions are, where I seen a comment where they said that jail is your identity. And I can definitely understand his anger and why somebody would say that, but I want to I want to just respond to that man real quick and say that that I know I've also done time with another gentleman that and I won't even call him a gentleman. I've done time with another guy that actually was locked up for killing an officer, and he actually got time back. He went back to court, and when he went back to court, he was sitting on the news, sitting there laughing about what he did, right? And this isn't your identity. This isn't who you are. But we do. I say that because we have people that don't have feelings attached to the things that they've done. You know, that don't want to get back, that don't care. They think that there's honor in those type of things. You know, and this isn't what we're using this platform for. This isn't why we're here. We don't honor that type of stuff. We understand every day we can be just sitting here playing dominoes, and it can just hit you in your mind that you killed somebody, where you have to deal with your own reality. It happens like that all day, every day, where you have to deal with your own reality of what you've done. And so I just think that, like, a lot of times people don't understand that there are people that are really trying to change. There are people that are really looking at what they've done, you know. So I wanted you to respond to where he said jail is your identity, and just I want you not to so much respond, but I want you to just talk about who you are as a person. How do you do your time?
Man, first and foremost, you know, man, since the time I came into the system, I ain't never, you know, gloried in what I did, nor did I ever let anyone, you know what I'm saying, try to glorify what I did. You know, that's not something that I've ever done since I've been incarcerated. I'm not running around, you know, because of the situation, the culture in here is different, you know, and crimes of my nature, you know, get praised. Crimes of my nature, you know, people look up to. But I've never taken that and, you know, rode that horse, you know, to gain anything, you know. In fact, I've shunned that. I've always, you know, disregarded that, like, hey, nah, man, that's not cool. You know, I'm not off of that. You know what I mean? And so for anyone who has ever approached me with that mindset, and anybody who has ever done time with me, anybody can tell you that from the time I came into the system up until now. You know, I've never, you know, gloried in that. And so I don't accept or embrace the identity of prison. You know, I'm trying to help change some of the identity of prison along with some of the individuals who are in prison, you know, because I believe that, you know, life is very precious, and I believe that human beings have the potential to be able to change because I see the change in my own life. And so one of the things that we're aiming to do is to change the culture of prison. And so as far as, you know, my identity being prison, I reject a lot of the common notions or the ideas about how prison is and how prisoners are. That's something that, you know, I totally, you know, you know, when I first came to prison, when I got off the chain bus, you know, it was like the whole penitentiary was waiting for me. When I came into the chow hall, people who had been following my case from the beginning, people that I didn't even know, you know, all my homeboys, it was like they was practically waiting for me to get there. You know, I was received with open arms. I was received, you know, in a very, very good light. And all my homeboys was looking for me, you know what I'm saying, to be the same individual that they thought that I was going to be. It would have been nothing and very easy for me to be able to just have to ride that wave at the very height of it, to rise through the ranks of, you know what I'm saying, in prison statuses and prison culture. It would have been nothing for me to do. And since I'm a natural leader anyway, you know, I would have been able to rise through the ranks anyway. But I never let nobody glory in the fact of what I did, because that's not where I was at, and that's not how I felt. I always rejected anyone who was trying to, you know, take what I did and use that as something to glorify and something to glory in. And it was a shock to a lot of people because they was expecting to get this old me. But by this time, like I said, I had been, you know, in that county jail for those 4 years. You know, my life had took a drastic change. So by the time that I needed that, honestly, I really needed that. So by the time that I got to prison, my whole mindset was changed and it was different, and it shocked everybody because they was expecting to get one thing and they got something totally different. You know, they had got a man who had grown up. They had got a man whose perception had changed. They had got a young man who had different ideologies and philosophies about life that was contrary to everything that I believed in when I first, you know, when I first was incarcerated. And so I say that to say that, you know, my identity being in prison from day one, I've always rejected, you know, the common ideologies. I always rejected the perception. You know, I always rejected, you know, what people thought that a prisoner was supposed to be. I didn't want to be that, and I didn't be that, and I'm not that, and I'm not going to be that.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up, man. And you know, and I'm really glad that the person that commented did this and just kind of gave us a chance to really be more transparent with the work that we do because, you know, and I've been very vocal since I've been doing this Filthy Rag stuff. And I told people all the time, I said, you know, at some point, Filthy Rags Outreach wants to be able to get to a point where we can work with law enforcement, where law enforcement can see us as somebody that's doing credible work and say, hey, can you save this kid's life? This kid's heading to prison. Can you guys talk to him? You know what I'm saying? So we don't have to throw this kid's life away, right? And I just see power in that because a lot of times when you look at the violence and you look at what's going on in the streets, and then it just kind of goes back with the jail being the identity. What people don't realize is, for example, you know, you're locked up for murder, myself and others as well. But, you know, you would think that when you come to prison, that they would be making you take anger management till you leave to make sure that when you're out of here, they can feel rest assured that they've put so much anger management on you that the streets are safer, but it's the exact opposite. They're not pushing these type of things on you. They're not putting us in an environment where we have to better ourselves, you know. So there is an identity of people in jail that don't want to do anything, but I want to see safer streets. I want to see people not kill each other. I don't want to see attacks on law enforcement, you know. And so I think that the work that we're doing is because we are some of the people that went a different route in here. I've always been able to stand as a man in here. When I see you able to stand as a man in here. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to know, like, for you, you know, when you look outside and you see what's going on in your community, how does that make you feel?
Man, the first thing that comes to my mind, man, is, you know, how can we turn this thing around, man? How can we stop it? You know, I know that I was a part of perpetuating, you know, this lifestyle that many of us are leading out there now today, you know. And so now that my eyes have been opened, you know, to the false realities of the lifestyle, you know, to the traps of it, you know, to the way that it robs you, you know, my position is that I don't want to see nobody else lose their life, you know, to the gang lifestyle, to the streets. You know, I don't want to see anybody continue to go down this road where we're destroying the very communities and our own families that we, you know, live in and grew up in. So those are some of the things that comes to my mind, you know. Just over the last couple of months, you know, there's been a huge spike in gang violence, you know, and since the beginning of that, you know, our position has been, you know, what could we do to try to reach on the other side of this fence to try to help affect change and help, you know, change some of the violence that's going on. I'm tapping into a lot of guys, you know, that are on the streets that are doing, you know, that are still caught up in that lifestyle, trying to help them see that they need to change. You know, I'm on this phone constantly, you know, reaching out, you know, trying to help change somebody's mindset, trying to help somebody see the light, you know, trying to help somebody wake up. You know, this work is, you know, day in and day out, both on this side of the fence and on the other side of the fence. And that's what I've been committed to. You know, I've been this way, and anybody that has done time with me, you know, there's no one that you'll ever cross paths with who has done time with me that'll ever tell you anything different. From the day that I stepped foot off the chain up until this day, I've been on the same thing.
Okay, for sure. And I hear that, and I'm glad, and I hope that the people out there can receive that. I want to get you with a couple more things, and then I'll conclude. But one thing I want to really touch on is that a lot of times I think, and the person that had responded didn't say this, but I want to just be clear. Because a lot of times people will think like, oh, you guys are just doing that because you guys want to get out of prison. But the reality of it is that you don't even have that much more time to do anyways, right? And so I think the point that I want to make here is that, number one, you're not doing these things because you want to get out of prison. You're doing these things because it's in your heart. But another point that I want to make is that, you know, with you coming out soon anyways, it's up to you to change your lifestyle so that you can try to get out and be successful. Now, mindful that you're going to always have that cloud over your head. You know what I'm saying? That's never going to go away. But, you know, it's not about you trying to get out early because you're getting out anyways, right? So I just want you to just kind of speak to that, you know what I mean? Because you weren't given a life sentence.
Yeah, man, I was, I was extremely blessed by God, you know what I mean? And that's why I have the level of faith that I do. And that's why I've been rocking with him the way that I have, and I ain't never switched lanes on him because of the grace that he has shown me. I recognize the grace that he has shown me, and I also recognize the responsibility that comes with the grace that he has shown me. And so, I have, family and loved ones, children as well, who have been affected by this, and so that matters to me. It matters to me that, I have also, left my own wife and children out there, to fend for themselves, and so my heart's desire is to be able to, return to the community and be able to try to help rebuild all the things that I helped destroy. That's what my heart's at. First and foremost, trying to start with my very own family. In fact, doing a lot of the work that we're doing, I've been conscious of how the work that we've been doing could, be perceived, by those who I've hurt. It's something that I've been very, very conscious about. In fact, I have been trying to find ways I've been trying to figure out how to, not allow the work that I've been doing to have that adverse effect. That matters to me. That matters to me a lot, and I'm really conscious of that. Does that answer the question that you asked me?
Yeah, and I think what I would add is like, in my last interview when I was doing with KG, I was talking about the gift and the curse, and so I kind of covered that earlier, where we had the two gentlemen that stopped the officers from getting jumped up, and then they ended up having to go to protective custody because, a lot of people in prison can't respect that. They don't want to see you save these people, but that's not the position that we come from. We're coming as adults, and we want to try to change a narrative. And so, like, in the work that we do, I think what people don't realize is that it makes us unpopular too. But like I told Champ, I told him, I said that one of the things that we want to do is we want to be responsible to the parents and to the people out into the community. If they can learn from us, then they can reach backwards to us. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about before we get up out of here is what's really missing in prison. And I think what's missing is a real restorative justice, a real line where we can have real victims that can really speak their pain so that we have both sides. Because I think what happens is that we don't have enough people incarcerated that can hear how maybe your actions didn't hurt this person, but maybe you did the same thing to somebody else, but then you can hear how it affected somebody else, and it can make you start reflecting on what you've done. And I don't think that we have enough of that in here. And so I think that even with the people commenting on Filthy Rags Outreach, it creates a space for us to start having a restorative justice program to where we can start creating some dialogue, to maybe where we can start doing some healing and people can start to try to understand each other. Because at the end of the day, we're still human beings. We're human beings that have made terrible mistakes, and we're human beings that will return back into society. But how will we return? Are we going to return and go back out there and pick up the guns and perpetuate violence? Or are we going to be the ones that's going to go out there and say, hey, man, that's ignorance. I've already been there. Don't waste your time. So one of the things I'll say before we get out of here is that if anybody that's out there is a victim and you want to put your story out there, if you want to be heard, if there's anything that we can learn from each other, we welcome that. We want to make sure that when we use this platform right here, it's for everybody. It's not just for us to talk about the gang stuff. It's for the victims to talk about how the stuff's impacted their lives. Because I think when we start having a general flow of information like that, it creates an atmosphere where everybody can start understanding. And once we have that understanding, then we can learn how to start defeating these problems. And so I just want to know, what's your thoughts on that?
Man, I think that that's exactly what needs to happen, man. The sad thing about you know, what takes place, the way that the system is set up is it doesn't create that space for you to be able to do that. You know what I mean? And no one would know, you know, what's on my heart and the change that has been taking place over the years. No one's going to know that unless I open my mouth and tell anyone that. You know, if I keep my mouth closed, you know what I'm saying, you're left to think whatever it is that you think, you know, without having any insight as to the transformation that's taking place in my own life. So to be able to create a space, you know, where individuals can have that type of dialogue, can have that type of, you know, exchange is a great thing because, again, like I said, that, you know, one of the toughest things, just one of them, one of the toughest things is, you know, coming to terms and grips with the effect that I left on my own family, how I've shattered my own family because of my actions, you know. It wasn't fair to them either, you know. A friend of mine and I were talking one time and, you know, we talked about, you know, how, you know, being in the gang, you know what I'm saying? If you ask me personally, you know, it is a crime. By doing so, I committed a crime against my own family, against my mother, against my father, against my brothers, you know. They followed in my footsteps, you know what I mean? Against my sons, you know, having to grow up without their father as well, you know what I mean? You know, the ripple effect goes far and wide. And that's something I got to deal with. That's something that I have to live with, and I live with it every day, you know. But by the grace of God, you know, who's been instrumental in my life, you know, he's helping me get through that, you know, and it's a huge part of it. I know that a lot of the work that we're doing, like even a lot of this conversation that we're having right now, you know, it's not going to be, you know, particularly smiled upon, you know, by our peers. I get that. I understand that, you know, but I also understand what I've been called to do, though. You know, I want to see all my homeboys saved. I want to see the people that have come from my lifestyle and let them know that, hey, listen, man, God got a lane for you too. You ain't got to continue to push down this lane and lose your life to these streets that have not given you anything in return. And so that's a part of my mission. And even though I know that a lot of people ain't going to be able to receive that, that's what my heart is. And anybody that know me, they know that.
Okay, yeah, and I definitely agree. And I guess I would just add, too, that you know, I definitely double that, you know, like I said, and I think that the main thing is that people on the outside have to understand that when you decide that you want to speak out and you want to start doing prevention and intervention stuff, then you don't become popular with your people, you become, you're less popular, you know, and so these are big steps. And so I would remind anyone that's listening that when we do these things, it's big steps because it is definitely frowned upon by our peers.
But the other side of that, though, is that the influence that I do have, you know, the respect among my peers that I do have because of the lifestyle that I lived, you know, I take that and I use that, you know what I mean, to be able to help affect change. Because there are still a lot of people that look to me and they respect me and they respect my walk, they respect the transformation that has taken in my life, and they're willing to hear from me because I'm credible in that sense. You know what I mean? And so the other side of that is that, you know, I do have influence, and I use that influence to affect change among my peers because they'll listen to me before they might listen to somebody else at times, and that's a responsibility that I take.
Okay, well, Champ, let me say this real quick because my time is about to be up, and this is another episode of the Rob Report. I hope that we've been very informative with you guys. And I want to just say to the people that did the comment, thank you for your comment. And I want to apologize to you and let you know that my heart goes out for your friend and their family. And that's coming from my heart. And I want to just tell you guys, thank you for just giving us the time and giving us the space and listening to us and believing in us. You finish out, Champ.
And I second that too, you know. I sincerely apologize, you know, for the lives that I've affected, you know, the hurt and pain that I've caused. That means a lot, you know, to me. You know, it doesn't go, you know, without thought, you know, every day. Like I said, you know, God has helped me to understand these type of things. So, yeah, again, you know, I appreciate everybody tapping in as well.